Peace.
Just this past week, radical Islamists committed horrific acts both in Canada and here in New York City. With these lone wolves living among us, what can we do to track them down and stop these attacks before they happen?
Joining us now is former FBI Assistant Director Jim Kallstrom. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
We heard from the NYPD commissioner, and he called it terror, called it what it was, but we don't always hear that. Fort Hood, workplace violence, in War, Oklahoma, the beheading there, same sort of thing. Are we being too politically correct, and is that hurting our efforts against terrorism?
Well, good for Bill Bratton. You know, I think the issue here is we have this fog of political correctness that sort of hangs over the country.
Yeah.
You know, and it affects all the agencies, the morale of the agencies. I mean, think about that. If you think the hierarchy doesn't even want to call it what it is, you're gonna have that right amount of focus and aggression to go and do your job. Or are you going to step back thinking maybe this is going to affect my career if I do this or might do that? So that's the first thing that has to change. You know, stop and frisk needs to be put back into in major cities. But this is an intelligence business, you know, and we actually don't know who's in the country. I mean, we don't have a clue who comes across the border, I don't think. And we don't know a whole lot about who comes across the Canadian border either. So, it's hard because we don't have a place to actually start with facts, if you know what I mean. But I wouldn't even call these people lone wolves because I see in the papers people say didn't seem to be a connection with terrorism. There's a direct connection.
Right.
You know, they're standing up over there and they're saying, go out there and kill cops, kill military people, you know, kill politicians, kill people. You know, and then in kind, they're responding to it. You know,
well, what do you do about that? I mean, it seems like we've done a pretty good job tracking Al-Qaeda in the United States, but how do you track people who are not connected to anybody else?
Well, it's very difficult, but I think we need to... First thing I would do when Holder leaves is take a look at the Attorney General guidelines.
Yes.
You know, that the FBI and others have to work under. I'm not there now, so I don't know exactly what they are, but I can tell you this, they're very restrictive. You know, the last thing I heard was that you couldn't even use a religion as anything to focus on anybody. I mean, that's just ludicrous. It's crazy. And this is going to go on for some time. I mean, look at what's going on over there.
You mentioned that ISIS has been chatting about this electronically to target law enforcement and military, and so they, in turn, have been asked, lower your social media profile, make sure a smaller amount of people can look at it. Don't have pictures of yourself in your uniform and with your...
Can you imagine?
That's so unfair to them, and we're doing exactly what the terrorists want us to do.
If you're in the military, take off your uniform, because it's not safe to walk around the United States of America. Can you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine?
That's horrifying.
I mean, it's just crazy. And, you know, I think agencies like the Bureau with the terrorist task forces across the United States, is going to have to get larger. It takes a tremendous amount of assets, people, to surveil people. So once you get to that level where you can actually surveil them, and that level is probably much too high right now, you know, you're talking 20, 30 people for one person.
That's
you know, and, you know, think about it. You know, if they're looking at 100 people or 200 people, which I would guess there's a lot more than that to look at, it's a huge task, just like up in Canada. You know, they took their passports, they had them on a list, but, you know, they weren't following those people.
No.
Well, we see 3 in North America in a week. I certainly hope this is not what we start to see every week.
But you're going to have to see a build-up in these types of
Yes.
special operations business in the United States. And,
scary.
You know, let's kill this political correctness. It's just outrageous.
And it sounds like it threatens us. Jim Kallstrom, thanks a lot for coming on.
My pleasure.
A voice of authority on this question. Up next, defacing our nation's beauty, a woman wanted for drawing graffiti at several national parks and bragging about it later online. How social media is now being used to track her down. And